Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. I hope you're doing well. All right. There's a couple of things I want to address. Number one, I had a couple of people reach out. The sale on Etsy and Shopify ends today. So you still got time to get the 37% off. Another announcement I'm making, my Shopify store is being designed. So it's going to look a lot more professional starting in about a week. So I did hire a web designer. They're going to make it look professional. Once it's designed, it's going to be connected to my YouTube channel. So you'll literally will be able to click on to products while you're in YouTube and you'll be able to shop my Shopify store from YouTube and buy your products. And a lot of people are always asking me about the gray hair reversal. That is on Shopify. So you will be able to find that on Shopify, and that will be really nice and convenient for people, especially if you're on my YouTube channel and you want products, you'll be able to go right to the Shopify store. So that is an added bonus. So you'll be able to do that in about a week. I will let you know when it's ready. It's being worked on. And the web designer I hired will have it ready, he said, in about a week. So hopefully it'll look very professional and you'll be able to get a clear view of each product and it'll be, easy for you to shop. So we're going to talk about the news that really came out this morning about the shape of the economy, and it is bad, y'all. It is bad. And Donald Trump keeps getting on TV talking about how great everything is, and the economic report is saying the exact opposite. The US is on the brink of collapse, and all of the economic reports coming out not only saying the economy is bad, the job market is the worst that it has been since the lockdown um, during the pandemic. And it might actually be worse now than it was during the pandemic. So, I don't blame people for being cautious. Things are bad. Bankruptcies all around the country are skyrocketing. A lot of defaults are going on with credit cards, a lot of defaults with student loans. People can't pay. They don't have the money. And now, it says that it's taking people beyond 17 weeks to find work. So if you're unemployed right now, it's taking way longer. Most people are not even getting callbacks now. You could be putting in hundreds of applications and not get a single callback. So it is saying that a high number of people have been out of work for more than 17 weeks and unable to obtain employment. So that's another thing that's bad in this country. So, you know, rich people don't care. That's why Donald Trump can keep getting on TV talking about everything is better and because he doesn't care. It's not impacting him. People like him don't feel anything. It's not changing their life like it is the average person. And the people that are working out here are struggling with the income because the cost of living in America has not changed with the inflation that's going on. So before, people that had a two-income household were doing fairly well once upon a time. But now they're saying people that have a two-income household are now struggling. A couple that got 2 paychecks are now struggling real bad, and y'all seen that with some of the videos I've shown you, and you've heard, "Oh, my husband and I, we make X amount together, and we can barely put food on the table now," and they're not lying. They're telling you the truth. Once they pay their bills, there's barely any money for food, or they have to decide what bill gets paid or get food and what bill they have to kinda let go so they can buy food. So having a two-income household is not what it used to be. So, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so we can get started, but, if you are struggling, you're not alone. You're not alone at all. There are many people struggling along with you. It is hard out here, and these politicians are not gonna do anything to change it, and it doesn't help to have elected politicians, and the majority of them are wealthy, you know? This is why I don't agree with wealthy people are the best ones to lead. See, white people believe that. White people believe wealthy people are the best ones because how do they get all that money? Well, a lot of times y'all be committing crimes to get all that money. It's not that you got it honestly. Most of y'all don't get your money honestly. You try to make us believe that, but y'all don't get your money honestly. You really don't. Y'all cheat, steal, lie. You even rob each other to get your money. Y'all steal from each other. But no, your rich people are not the best ones to lead because all they're going to ultimately do is sit in that leadership position and try to figure out ways to screw over the average people that are working for them. That's what they're going to ultimately do. So no, they are never the best ones. Y'all believe that mess. I never do. I never believe they are the best to lead. And I think the more rich people you got in charge, the less they're going to care about the average working person. That's what I believe. That's why I pray each and every day. What we have is another wave, just like during the lockdown. A lot of our people in our community start getting business license and start getting into running their own businesses and still running their businesses to this day. And that's what I would like to see from our people. Because as long as you work for these folks, they gonna always be doing some underhanded mess to you in the workplace. I mean, let's face it, we have never been able to go to these jobs and work in peace around these folks. And y'all all know this. We have never been able to do it. They always trying to pull some underhanded mess on you or be on some job lying on you or be on some job trying to take credit for your work that you did. It's always some BS with these folks for real. But see, when you're doing your own business and you're out of their reach, they can't do nothing to you. They can't, you know? You know what they did when I first went into business, y'all? They would call themselves trying to troll me. They would come into my message area on Etsy and say things like, "Oh, so you're selling products to a bunch of bald-headed black women," stuff like that. And one thing about Etsy, you got the ability to block people, so I just blocked them all. And that's the lame ass crap they would try to do. But technically, they can't stop you from doing nothing. Or what they would try to do is set up some dummy 12 tribe store and or the store would just ultimately get suspended. And they did that a couple of times too. They would try to set up a store with a similar name, 12 tribes on earth, and it would say something a little different. And Etsy ended up suspending every single one of those stores. But that's about all. But ultimately, when you are in business and they can't control what you do, that is really the best thing you can do for yourself. Even if you can't get all the way in your business, try to have a side gig where they can't do anything at all. They have no control over it and they can't do anything to that business. They have no control over what you do. That's the best thing for you to do. That way, anything happens to your regular job, you always got that side gig that you can work, you know, and you can always do that. But that's the kind of stuff they would do, or they would write my, email, "Oh, oh, you got some business. Oh, they all love going, so you're gonna tell to some bald-headed black women. So what? Let's say I am selling to bald-headed black women. What's it to you? What the fuck does that got to do with I'm sorry, y'all. What the hell does that got to do with you? Even if I am selling to bald-headed black, what the hell does that got to do with you? How does that impact your life? You know what I mean? They always want to put their nose where it don't belong. And again, in my email, I got the ability to block, and I just block all these people. That's all I do. I can block them all, and that's what I do. I block them all. They can't troll me because I won't let them troll me. I won't let them do it. All right, y'all. Let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you, everybody.
We have some major news right now. Horrible numbers for the United States economy right now. According to ADP payrolls, the United States economy lost 32,000 private sector jobs in the month of November. The estimate was for the economy to gain 40,000. We lost 32,000. That's a 72,000 job miss. Businesses are being hammered in ways we could not have imagined, ways economists could not have imagined. Now, I will say this, we live in a very interesting economy because the stock market continues to do relatively well. But everyday average Americans, many of whom can't even afford to invest in the stock market, aren't actually experiencing a good economy. Prices continue to rise. The job market is horrible. I mean, I hear it from folks my age. I'm 26. I hear it from people my age all the time. They can't get an interview, let alone a job. What we're seeing is the Trump administration say that we have a great economy because of the stock market. But when you actually look at how the economy is impacting everyday Americans, it's a pretty shitty economy. And yet here we are. Horrible numbers this morning. Spread the word, follow along for more.
We are starting to reach COVID levels in the job market. The economy is collapsing every day. This is all self-inflicted. Let me tell you a headline about private payrolls. Hi, my name is Christina. I have a master's degree in business. Please follow for more. U.S. private payrolls post the largest drop in more than 2.5 years in November. And if you did not know, it is going to get worse. So far, we have already lost over 1 million jobs in 11 months under the Trump administration. Not only that, unemployment has been climbing every single month. No jobs are being created and nobody is hiring. Long-term unemployment is 25%. What does that mean? That is a huge number. 4.5% is the average right now. Again, that has climbed every single month. That means 25% of those 4.5%, a fourth of them have been unemployed, what's considered long-term, 17 weeks or more. Please follow for more. Get your finances in order. Trump has single-handedly wrecked the United States in less than 11 months.
Many of us here in the US are waking up this morning to our investments and stocks plummeting. I know I made the mistake of checking my account. Trump's tariffs have had a huge, huge impact on the economy and will continue to do so. You know, it's a bad sign when his former vice president, Mike Pence, is speaking out directly against these tariffs and warning that the average American will be losing $3,500 this year as a result of the tariffs. Do you know how many people voted for this administration without even understanding what a tariff is? But do you know who did explain it and did warn over and over? Kamala Harris. She spoke out directly against what is happening now. And yet, here we are.
Trump has instituted a 5-step economic plan to sabotage the economy. This is an in-depth for TikTok analysis, so settle in for a few minutes. So what he's doing: shrinking the labor force, cutting off international trade, destabilizing the financial system, weakening core institutions, and consolidating wealth and power. So step one, shrinking the labor force. Trump is deliberately creating worker shortages, removing millions of undocumented workers from farms, construction sites, hotels, and restaurants. Undocumented workers make up roughly half, yes, half of agricultural workers. And Trump knows this and what it will do to the food supply. Food is rotting in the fields with no one to harvest the crops. Housing construction is stalled, raising prices nationwide. Hospitality and tourism sectors face record staffing crisis. The result? Food shortages, higher prices, supply chain disruption. Now he's attacking legal immigration. The $100,000 H-1B visa fee makes it nearly impossible for tech companies to hire skilled workers. Tech will move to India, Canada, and Europe, leaving the US behind. Restricting student visas cuts off a future talent pipeline in medicine, science, and engineering. The goal: make the US businesses struggle to operate, forcing closures and driving up consumer prices. Number two, cut off international trade. Trump's trade policies isolate America from the global markets, hurting exports and consumers at the same time. Tariffs on imports raise everyday prices for goods. Retaliatory tariffs by other nations then block US exports, which have devastating effects on farmers and manufacturers. Pulling out of agreements like the TPP and threatening NAFTA partners pushes allies towards China's RCEP, the EU, MESCOR, and all other non-US trading blocs, leaving the US isolated. Allies like Japan, South Korea, and Australia now trade more with China than with America. The goal: collapse export-driven industries while raising domestic costs, creating economic desperation. Number three, destabilize the financial system. Trump is undermining the foundations of the US dollar, which underpins the entire global economy. Publicly attacking and threatening to replace Fed officials destroys market confidence. Businesses can't plan or borrow when they fear politically driven interest rates. Trump has openly suggested renegotiating or defaulting on US debt, a move that would send global markets into chaos. And as US reserve currency status weakens, inflation will skyrocket and retirement savings will evaporate. Given tax cuts for billionaires and corporations with no offset will balloon the national debt and raise borrowing costs. Goal: trigger financial panic, erode trust in the dollar, and push global investors to abandon the US. Step four, weaken the core institutions. Strong economies require stable, predictable institutions, and Trump is actively dismantling them in the US. And he's turning courts and regulators into partisan tools, which scares investors and discourages entrepreneurship. Businesses need neutral enforcement of contracts to function. Trump destroys that trust, slashing budgets and hollowing out expertise in the Department of Commerce and the State Department and regulatory agencies. The US has become incapable of coordinating trade policy or negotiating deals, leaving foreign rivals with the upper hand. The goal: turn government into an unreliable, unpredictable force, discouraging growth and making citizens dependent on Trump for stability. And the final step: consolidating wealth and power for himself. Once the system collapses, Trump and his allies seize control of what's left. As farms, factories, and businesses fail, Trump-aligned billionaires buy them at dollars on the penny, just like Russian oligarchs after the Soviet collapse. Trump deregulates industries for corporations while leaving consumers unprotected, maximizing profits for his allies. With ordinary Americans broke and scared, they accept authoritarian control in exchange for the illusion of order. The ultra-rich rules oligarchs with Trump as the figurehead. His goal: create a Russian-style oligarchy where wealth and power are concentrated among a handful of loyal insiders. Individually, these actions look like bad policies or political incompetence, but together they form a clear pattern of economic sabotage. Shrink the labor force so industries collapse, cut off international trade to isolate the US and destroy exports, destabilize the financial system to trigger a panic, weaken core institutions so no one can resist, consolidate wealth and power into the hands of Trump and his allies. This is the blueprint for authoritarian takeover. And quite quickly, America won't have a democracy. It will have a playground for oligarchs. And what are Americans doing about this? Tell me, because I don't know.
The skyrocketing cost of living has left millions of people working at full-time jobs or a number of part-time jobs still unable to afford a place to live. Ali Rogan is back with her conversation with journalist Brian Goldstone, author of There Is No Place for Us, about this growing nationwide crisis.
Thank you so much for joining us. In your work, you've come to know many people who may have more than one job, but have come into circumstances where they cannot afford to keep a roof over their heads. Certainly, each person has a unique story, but are there any common threads in their experiences that you've been able to identify?
Yeah, absolutely. I do argue in my book that in cities across America today, in one city after another, a low-wage job really is homelessness waiting to happen. And what they have in common is they all belong to the low-wage workforce. And it's not just that their wages are too low to keep up with the skyrocketing cost of having a place to live. It's also that the jobs themselves have become increasingly volatile and precarious, where they often don't know how many hours they're going to be getting from one week to the next. Their employers give them 29 hours a week because at 30 they would be eligible for basic benefits like health insurance or sick leave. And yeah, the cost of housing, rents are just very, very quickly outpacing what their incomes are. So that's kind of the backdrop that that defines these people's existence.
For a long time, the stereotypical perception of homelessness is that it is something that happens to people on the fringes of society, and that may have never been accurate. But what have you found out in your reporting about the reality of what it's like to be without a home?
Yeah, I mean, one really astonishing truth about homelessness in America is that what we see on the street is really the tip of the iceberg. There's this entire world of homelessness that is out of sight, that has been rendered invisible. And within that shadow realm of homelessness, as I refer to it, it is overwhelmingly populated with people, again, who are part of the low-wage workforce, who families with children. And these are people who are working and working and working some more, and it simply is not enough to secure one of life's most basic necessities, a roof overhead. I mean, to be sure, in the richest nation on the planet, nobody should be without housing. But these pernicious myths and stereotypes that homelessness is just caused by addiction or it's just caused by mental illness, it really is not borne out by the reality on the ground. And indeed, often mental illness and addiction is a consequence of this form of insecurity, not its cause.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the lives of the homeless workers are day in and day out? And also, do those lives get harder during the holidays?
I think it's really easy for terms like the housing crisis or the homelessness crisis to become kind of abstract and to lose touch with just the acute human toll of this growing catastrophe in America. What homelessness looks like today isn't just the person sleeping outside the parking lot of a convenience store or a Walmart or a Target. It's often the very cashier or worker stocking the shelves in those stores. And they often have children at the end of their shifts. They don't know where they're going to be going. They have to tell their children, I don't know where we're staying tonight. Maybe they're sleeping in a car in that very parking lot. And, there's a term that public health experts use to refer to the kind of stress that children and parents are exposed to in these circumstances. And that term is toxic stress. This is stress that is so chronic, so debilitating, that it can fundamentally alter a child's long-term development. That is the human toll of this insecurity. And it is it is the consequence, it's the toll of what has happened when millions, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of families in this country have been flung into what a case manager in my book refers to as the housing Hunger Games.
You've cited a number of deficiencies across all sorts of categories that are failing people, but what institutions here need to change? Is this a failure of government, of industry, all of the above? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think it is all of the above. What I found in my reporting in the course of kind of immersing myself in the day-to-day lives of 5 families here in Atlanta where I live over a period of nearly 6 years, it's not just the housing system, which, prioritizes profits above all else. It's not just work and jobs and wages that aren't keeping up with the cost of living. It's also other systems like healthcare, a lack of affordable childcare, the education system, food insecurity. All of these systems sort of collide to make this human disaster not just possible, but in many ways predictable and inevitable.
Brian Goldstone, author of There Is No
Donald Trump and Republicans are making America great again. According to the S&P Global data, it's showing both personal and corporate bankruptcies skyrocketing in the first half of 2025, with reports describing the rise as soaring. The number of filings has reached levels not seen in over 15 years under Republican economic policies. Total bankruptcies rose just the first 6 months alone by 11.5%. Personal bankruptcies rose 11.8%, and corporate bankruptcies surged, reaching a 15-year high, with 655 corporate bankruptcies in October alone. The highest hit sector is in the industrial and manufacturing sectors. That's right. Trump's tariffs were going to bring back manufacturing in the United States, and it's having the opposite fucking effect. And these bankruptcies are expected to continue to soar, with projections that there will be a record 580,000 filed bankruptcies by the end of 2025. Oh my God, I love making America great again.
About to lose my shit. I'm about ready to blow a gasket. I swear, I am. I just got off the phone with my mortgage company, right? Because they called me. I was like, why my mortgage company calling me? I'm up to date on everything. Everything's cool, right? I just checked my bank account to make sure the payment came out. I actually sent them $890 instead of $840, which, is what I'm supposed to send them. And they called me up, and I'm like, yeah, what's going on? They're like, well, Mr. Hayes, we're calling to let you know that as of November 1st, your mortgage payment's going to be going from $840 a month to $991 a month. And I was like, for what? They're like, well, you're $900 short in escrow. And I was like, what do you mean I'm $900 short in escrow? How is that possible? How? Explain this to me. They go, well, your homeowner's insurance went from $2,600 a year on up to $3,400 a year. I said, for what? I haven't had any claims. I haven't had any issues or pop up or anything like that. What do you mean? Why has it gone up so much? Well, Mr. Hayes, you're going to have to call your insurance company for that. So now I'm going to have to call my insurance company to find out why my insurance went up so much to cause my mortgage payment to go from $841 a month to $991 a month. I'm barely making it as it is right now. Barely. We ain't doing bad, but we ain't doing great. Man.
Is anyone else just tired, just exhausted? The system that we live in today, the world that we live in today, I really do not think that it was meant for humans to live like this. We have a world where all we do is chase paper, gold at $4,300 an ounce, or almost. For what? You can't eat it. We have a system where we run. For what? I don't think it's natural for humans to live like this. Everyone is either addicted to caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, working out, just you name it. Everyone has some sort of way to get a dopamine high, and it seems so unnatural. And I think it is unnatural. Just wondering, anybody else feeling that way, thinking that, or is it just me?
Serious question. And how are people affording anything in 2025? I'm having surgery in 2 weeks on my neck, so I was told to get certain types of shirts so it wouldn't bother the area. I go to Goodwill. I'm looking at prices $9.99 for used shirts that are of no brand of value at all anywhere. Like maybe it was Target. I don't even know. I probably could go to Target and get it for free. But seriously, how is it that I have just gotten priced out of a thrift store? Not only that, I cannot remember the last time I actually went out and had a meal in a restaurant. We do not order out. We don't even get pizza because we're trying to save everything for 2025 with all of my health stuff. I am so sick of my own cooking. You have no idea. I'm a bad cook and I am so freaking tired of my own food. But how do people afford to go to a restaurant, sit down and have a meal? Like that is a foreign concept to me at this point. And I can't remember the last time I went and saw a movie in a theater.
You can hear the exhaustion in their voices. That's not laziness. That's survival talking. It's the sound of people doing everything right and still falling behind. When your mortgage jumps by $100 for no reason, when even goodwill feels like luxury, that's not a budgeting issue. That's a broken system. And the worst part? Everyone is so tired that they think it's normal now. You see videos like this and realize it's not just one person struggling, it's millions. And no one in power seems to feel it.
Well, signs of an economic slowdown and growing recession are mounting with the number of companies laying off employees, and it just keeps getting worse. We're already at the 1 million mark of employees that have been let go, okay? But currently, Amazon is beginning their layoffs of the 30,000 corporate jobs that they are eliminating. 10% of their entire workforce. I want you guys to think about 30,000 Americans with good paying jobs, good benefits being let go in America. And keep in mind, the last jobs report showed new job growth at only 60,000 positions. You have over 1 million people looking for work because of how Trump is running this economy and the tariffs. And now you're dumping another 30,000 people that are going to be vying for 60,000 new jobs. UPS has already begun shedding 48,000 positions, including 14,000 management level folks. These are our fellow Americans, and you better believe a lot of them voted for Donald Trump and Republicans. Target is trimming 1,800 corporate jobs. GM is laying off another 1,700 workers due to slowing electric vehicle sales. The cost of electric vehicles, because component parts have to be imported, and because of the tariffs, make it unaffordable, and an economy where everybody is hanging onto their wallets very tightly and not spending. So government contractor Booz Allen Hamilton is cutting 7% of their workforce due to decreased revenue. They provide cybersecurity services. Paramount has already laid off 1,000 employees, and they have plans to cut another 2,000 by the end of the year. This is 3,000 of our fellow Americans. Starbucks is eliminating 900 corporate and management jobs due to decreased sales. Now, this is just big corporations, well-known corporations. That's all I'm including here under Trump's economy. Now, I just want our fellow Democrats to remember, when we are voting for Democratic candidates during the Democratic primaries, if we continue to elect centrists who are pro-corporate, we are not going to fix anything, because centrist Democrats protect these same corporations who are only interested in their bottom line. These are corporations that pay their executive levels 400 times the amount of their regular worker. 400 times. Centrist Democrats are not going to fix the underlying problem. So we need to be more focused on getting progressives, democratic socialists elected. But this is really bad news, and this is going to be hard to turn around from. I mean, trying to get a corporation like this to turn around and begin rehiring and creating new jobs is going to require a whole different economy than what we've ever had in the past.
Overall economic growth, almost 3 in 4 Americans now say the economy is only fair or poor. That includes wide partisan divides, but the dissatisfaction with everyday costs is nearly universal.
Okay. So the thing is, these folks set up this capitalist system, and everywhere capitalism, ladies and gentlemen, has been practiced has failed. Before they even came over here from Europe, every society they set up with capitalism failed. They have never been able to get past a few hundred years before it fell apart. And they're just hitting 250 years as of July 4th, 2026, from 1776. And look at the shape the economy is in. And the thing is, they just keep practicing it out of greed, and it doesn't work. Capitalism does not work. It does not work. And when you have rich people, that's why they can lay off 10% of their workforce, because they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. And look at Donald Trump. He walked in office letting federal workers go by the thousands. And some of these people were just a year or two away from retirement, and he fired them anyway. So you got somebody in charge that don't care how many people get laid off. He doesn't see that as a problem. He doesn't see how not having a good, strong workforce brings down the economy. He doesn't care. So you can't expect a person like that to turn things around. He's not going to turn anything around. He thinks it's a great thing cutting jobs all over the place. He thinks that's a great thing. So no, I don't look upon somebody like a Donald Trump to make this economy better. And look at what he did when the shutdown was going on. He was looking to fight, and he did. He fired a bunch of people during the shutdown. And I was reading, he's not allowed to do that, but Donald Trump don't follow rules. He doesn't care about laws. He doesn't care about rules. He's not supposed to do that to those federal employees when a shutdown is going on, but he fired thousands of them anyway. He didn't care. And remember, he also spoke about, oh, they didn't deserve back pay. But that's written into their contract during a government shutdown. Whenever they return back to work, when the shutdown is over, they get back pay. Donald Trump said they didn't deserve that. So, but you think a man that think like that is going to turn things around? He can't turn this economy around, y'all. He can't. He's not capable of doing it. He can't implement Project 2025 and turn this economy around at the same time. It's impossible. So the reason why this is making such big news is because it's impacting millions and millions of white people now. See, whenever our people suffered during economic downturns, they never cared. Whenever our people, which was all the time, had the biggest unemployment numbers, they never cared. But see, now unemployment is real big among the white population. Job loss is real big among the white population. Income struggles are now hitting the white population. Day-to-day struggles are now hitting the white population. So now this is why it's hitting the news and it's getting publicity now. But when it was hitting us, the only thing they would tell us is pull yourself up by the bootstraps. They tried to pretty much say we were responsible for our situation. We weren't trying hard enough. We weren't applying ourselves. Oh, we need to take responsibility. That the people that never take responsibility is telling us to take responsibility. Yeah, that is really that is really something else right there. But there was never any empathy. Whenever we were going through a tough time, there was never any empathy ever. But now it's hitting them. They can't find work. Their income is not stretching as far as it used to. They can't afford things that they used to be able to afford. They can't pay bills like they once used to be able to pay. So now these economic problems are now making the news because it's impacting them. Hmm. So, Loveline Turner, I definitely want to thank you for your two very generous donations to my channel, and thank you so much for your support. I deeply appreciate it. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. I do have another live stream coming up, probably more close to 8 o'clock. Donald Trump has taken all Black veterans off of the World War II memorial. And I got something to say about that. I just think Donald Trump, in his white fragility, has gone way too far. Whenever you want only white males to have recognition and the achievements of other people should just vanish, then it just goes to show you how fragile and what that looks like a lot of jealousy on top of that, Donald Trump. Usually racism and hatred, that's all jealousy at the end of the day. And it just seems like you want the only face to be seen in society is a white face. But anybody else that put their lives on the line and fought for this country, you don't want them to be seen. You don't want them to be known about. You want them to just disappear from history. But anybody white, you want that all out in the forefront. That ain't gonna fly. But we'll talk about that about 8 o'clock. So be on the lookout for my next live. Shalom, family.